Welcome to the Sideboard here at the Star City Games Season 1 Invitational at SCGCon Summer, part of the SCG Tour brought to you by Ultimate Guard and Carnox. I am Nick Miller alongside Pete Ingram. How are we doing?
How's it going, Nick?
Pretty good. Invitationals are always tricky trying to get deck techs because a lot of people are playing the stock decks, the decks they know that are going to do well and have performed over time.
Yeah.
You, however, have bailed me out and are playing this awesome Bant creation that we're dubbing Devoted Devastation.
Yeah.
And we have a bunch of new cards in this deck, starting off with, Finale of Devastation, the namesake card, as well as the Planeswalkers that are kind of taking over all of the new decks.
Yeah.
Teferi, Karn, but you're doing it in this weird creature shell that we've sort of seen before, but with a whole new twist.
Yeah, so basically early a week and a half ago, I was obsessed with trying to find combos that worked well with Teferi Time Raveler so your opponent couldn't interact with you. And I was like, well, Devoted Druid and Vizier don't see a ton of modern play, and it's a very powerful combo. 2-card infinite mana, that's very modern power level. So I started the deck with Collected Company and Teferi, trying Teferi and Collect Company, and I think there's something there too. But I ultimately ended up, with the help of Edgar Magayesh, my teammate on face-to-face games, we ended up with this, which is actually just a really fine-tuned list. I'm really happy with our 75, and the deck is surprisingly resilient and has multiple ways to attack, but it ultimately tries to get infinite mana, and it's very rare you kind of chip shot your opponent, but you have multiple ways of resilience against hate.
Right. One thing we saw from all of the Collected Company Vizier decks of old was that their plan B, they could turn into this just super average creature beatdown deck if you're shutting down the combo. What are we doing in this deck? Outside the infinite mana, we have the Karn stuff going on too, so that's another plan of attack for this deck.
Definitely huge. You can play Karn, you have your bullet sideboard. Against Dredge, you can get Tormod Script and just buy time. Against humans, you can get engineer explosives if you have the time to do that. Sometimes Karn isn't fast enough, but you're playing, Arbor Elf, Utopia Sprawl to hopefully power out a turn 2 Karn. You can do that. Right. And then you have Ballista and Michelson Blatted for kills, Chalice against the Bolt decks, because those are the decks you typically don't want to see, because they killed Devoted Druid, and that's how you're winning the game. But with also Teferi, you're now able to cast sorceries on the end of their turn. So you can go end of turn Finale of Devastation for 2, get Devoted Druid, it's now not summoning sick, and then they can't interact with you because you have Teferi in play. So then you play Vizier, or you Finale for another Vizier, you get infinite mana, and you get Karn to get Walking Ballista, or you get Weird Harvest to get Walking Ballista, or you Finale of Devastation for 100 and just attack for 300.
Yeah, this deck has similar feelings to the Food Chain deck in Legacy almost in what you're doing with the mana.
Yeah.
So we'll go over the whole deck. We've mentioned pieces here and there and what the general idea of the deck is, but we have a bunch of 1-mana stuff here going on for mana and tutoring between Arbor Elf, Utopia Sprawl, Birds of Paradise, and I think let's talk about the Oath of Nissa here for a little bit, because it's not a mana card per se, but it opens up what the deck can do.
Yeah, for sure. So Oath is really important. It can bind multiple combo pieces, Vizier or Devoted Druid, or even a kill card in Karn. It also can bind Teferi, and what's cool about Teferi and Oath of Nissa is if you have infinite green mana, you can actually play Teferi off of Oath of Nissa, and then if you need to dig for more cards, Teferi, bounce Oath of Nissa, draw a card, play Oath of Nissa, dig. Oh, if I hit another Teferi, I get to do that again. So the deck has a lot of powerful engine, and then you can also bounce Eternal Witness and stuff like that. So Oath of Nissa, very, very powerful and able to kind of get the cards that you need to go off and win the game.
Right, we have the combo of obviously Devoted Druid and the Vizier of Remedies. That's basically the whole engine of the deck. Then we have Finale of Devastation, which, are you often getting stuff from your graveyard as well, or is this just strictly tutoring, or what are all the uses you can really use?
I will only get things from my graveyard. Let's say I have a Devoted Druid in my graveyard and 3 Devoted Druids in my deck. I will get it out of my graveyard to 1, play around Surgical Extraction if my opponent has that kind of thing. And then 2, you also possibly want more Devoted Druids in your deck to naturally draw, because that is a very important card for you to draw in case they kill it. So in those instances, I'll get it out of my graveyard. But when you're going for the kill, you can just get it from anywhere. You don't even sometimes need to grab a creature. You can just So, X is 100.
You went over Teferi doing cool stuff with Oath of Nissa and rebuying your creatures. I have to imagine sometimes you're also just getting value, just like in Standard, bouncing something on the other side, and then just enjoying the protection that you get.
Yeah, for sure. I can bounce Aether Vial against humans. I can bounce my own Eternal Witness. There's a ton of things you can do with Teferi and trying to keep it in play, and also just gain value with incremental value with your Oaths and your Eternal Witnesses.
Okay. We've got the kill cons, Walking Ballista, Karn. As you mentioned, you already went over the Karn package, and then the other bullet here, Tireless Tracker, just the classic value card in all these decks.
Classic value cards. We're playing 10 fetch lands, which allows us to draw cards off of that. Classic value card against like Jund and Blue-White, where you might have to go to that game where you're trying to squeak them out of value, put combo pieces in play, make them answer them, and then eventually run them out of resources. And Tireless Tracker fits that plan perfectly, and you can often buy it back with Eternal Witnesses and stuff.
Postmortem Lunge is just like an extra copy of your combo pieces if they die, basically?
Yeah, so we have a Lunge in the main deck and a Lunge in the sideboard. That's for Lightning Bolt matchups specifically, because they're so easily able to kill your Devoted Druid. Well, with Lunge, you put it in play and it gains haste. So if you have Vizier in play, they can bolt your Vizier, but they can't stop you from adding mana off your Devoted Druid, and if you have Teferi in play, they can't stop you at all.
Right.
So that's basically what the Lunge is for infinite mana decks, for Bolt decks.
Had to look up Weird Harvest to even make sure this card was in the format, but this seems pretty sweet in this deck.
Yeah, so with Teferi, you can cast it end of turn to get combo pieces. You can also, with Devoted Druid in play, cast it for 2, getting Vizier and Walking Ballista, play Vizier, get infinite mana, and kill them with Walking Ballista. I liked Weird Harvest because it gave you the 9th and 10th ways to kill your opponent. Being that you wouldn't really play Ballista in the deck without the Weird Harvest, you could put it in your sideboard. And I tried cards like Dustwatch Recruiter, and I found Weird Harvest to just be a much better version of that. Okay. I did not like Dustwatch Recruiter very much at all.
So you've been playing this deck online, doing pretty well with it. You've been handing it out to a couple of friends, and they've been doing well with it.
Yeah.
And the surprising part to me is, when Edgar and when Tarek Patel are considering dropping their pet Modern decks for a deck last second, this thing has to be the real deal.
Yeah, I think it is. I think so long as we get good matchups, which I believe most decks are. If Lightning Bolt decks are tough, but non-Lightning Bolt decks I think are good matchups, which is a pretty big portion of the field when you think about it. And Edgar, I basically was like, I think this deck's busted. I'm 8-0 in matches on Magic Online. And he tried it out, and he was like, yeah, dude, I'm in, I'm off Amulet. And then we got Tarek on the deal, and he dropped Phoenix, and it's only the 3 of us playing it. And, I'm going to be talking more about the deck on my podcast, Tapped Out Podcast, this week, and there'll be a sideboard guide on our Patreon as well.
All right, so the Lightning Bolt matchups are tough, and that's Phoenix, obviously. But from that, I have to imagine, you like your matchups for the rest of the decks, Amulet, Dredge. How about the Blue-White and the kind of controlling matchups?
Blue-White's a little tough if they have the right draw, but if you play a turn to Teferi, which you often can do off of your 10 ways to do so, there's really nothing they can do. Like, that Teferi's going to stay in play, and they're not able to interact with you for the rest of the game. It's easy mode from there. Certain games do get grindier, but against Tron, you're faster than them. Against Dredge, if they don't mill Conflagrate, you're probably going to win game 1, and then game 2 you have Rest in Peace. Against humans, they don't have much ways of interacting with you, and if you're able to, they're certainly able to cheese you out, Meddling Mage stuff and whatnot, because humans is humans, but majority of games you're able to race them.
Cool. All right, we'll wrap up with the sideboard here. You already went over the Karn package, so we got that. Then here it's kind of standard fare. You got your Rest in Peace, you got your Negates, and some removal here with Path to Exile, as well as another Postmortem Lunge. Is there anything you're hedging for specifically here, or just kind of a general catch-all?
Yeah, we wanted the paths for the Phoenix matchup and for humans and stuff like that, where we kind of go into maybe a grindier game, trying to grind them out, because the games are going to go long if they're Lightning Bolting and your creatures and you're trying to buy them back. The Lunge, same deal for Lightning Bolt matchups, we went in an extra one. We originally were going to add the Lunge to the main deck and cut the Weird Harvest, but I actually really liked Weird Harvest in testing, and it also gives you as I said before, that 9th and 10th way to kill. So I redacted on that. Negate for Blue-White for combo matchups where they're trying to kill you just as fast, and then Rest in Peace for Dredge, Storm, stuff like that, where you're not really using your graveyard, you have Eternal Witness, which you can live without, and you have Lunge, which you can live without. So, yeah, Recipe is incredibly powerful.
All right, well, this deck looks awesome. I can't wait to get this this deck on camera.
Yeah.
I want people to see what's going on, and I'm ready for a new deck, even though Modern Horizons is coming up. You know, we've got something new for the last week of this old Modern format.
I wanted to break it for 1 week.
All right, well, if you did, you have a lot of rewards waiting for you. So,
for
Pete,
sure.
thanks for joining me here, as usual. Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Roanoke.